Okay. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, ma ba'd. So inshallah today we'll start a new story, and that is the story of Musa, عليه السلام, and Khidr. All right? And before I start, I want to remind that next week I will not be here. I'll be out of town. So get a break. Then we'll see you inshallah the Sunday after. Also encourage everybody to turn in your homework. This time we had 8 total, 4 submitted the last minute, so that counts. So we had 8. But I hope everybody else also is able to participate. Okay, so you probably noticed so far that every time we might use a slightly different approach in our understanding in the Tafsir of the Quran. So like maybe last time we put more emphasis on certain words and the linguistic meaning of them and how they contribute to the meaning of the ayah or the lesson. And today we're going to have a different approach for a reason. So let's start reading the ayah, the first verse, and then show why we need to resort to that method. So you notice when you start the story, ayah number 60, right? It says, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ. And remember, by the way, the word remember is not there, but anytime you see وَإِذْ, implicitly there is like remember, or it's a reminder. When Musa told his fata is like a boy. Here it means an assistant or an aide. And as we're going to see, we know the name of that aide. His name is Yusha bin Nun, in English, Joshua, the son of Nun. This guy was with Musa alayhi salam from a young age. So you could say he's a mentee of Musa alayhi salam. He was accompanying Musa alayhi salam for a long time. So it says, remember when Musa told his aide, his assistant, I'm not going to rest, I'm not going to stop until I reach this destination, Majma' al-Bahrain. Majma' al-Bahrain is where the two seas meet. And it doesn't tell us what two seas, but it tells us where the two seas meet. I mean, there are not many in the world. If you open the map and look, you might find few places on your own, right? He says, either I'll get to my destination or I'll keep going. أو أمضي حقبة. I could go for حقب. The word حقب could mean decades or years, meaning I will not rest until I reach my destination. I don't care how long it takes me, how many weeks or months or years. I will not stop until I get to that destination. So if you just read this ayah, it doesn't tell you much. I mean, you don't know what's going on. You don't know why Musa wanted to go there. What is so special about the meeting of the two seas, that location? And why is Musa alayhi salam so determined to go there? So this is why today we're going to have to resort to the method of hadith. So hadith explains the Quran, or at least some of the Quran. We call it Tafsir bil athar. This is a method. We understand the Quran through narrations. And this is important because we know one of the missions of the Prophet ﷺ is to explain the Quran. In fact, it told us in the Quran, وَنَزَّلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. We sent down the revelation to you so that you clarify to people what was revealed to them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not just send the book by itself. He sent a messenger with the book. Why? Because the messenger explains the Quran. Otherwise, he could have sent a book maybe an angel delivers the book to some people and that's it. But he sent a messenger. And this is why we should not listen to people who say, oh, I just take the Quran, I don't care about the hadith. There is a purpose for the hadith. The hadith gives you a lot of details that does not exist in the Quran. And this is a good example. So we look into the hadith literature and we find several narrations explaining the setting of the story, explaining the reason why Musa wanted to make that trip. And it gives us, overall, it gives us much more detail. Let's go there. Inshallah, what I'll do, it's mentioned several times in Bukhari, so I'm going to pick one narration, which is most like maybe the most elaborate one, and I'll go through it as I go through the verses. So I'll try to, go back and forth, and hopefully you'll get a full picture. This particular narration is found in the Book of Knowledge in Sahih al-Bukhari. It's the third book in the collection. So Sahih al-Bukhari is made, it's a collection of books, right? And the third book in that collection is called the Book of Knowledge, Kitabul Ilm. And we're going to see why, because, the story is all about knowledge. It's all about seeking knowledge. It's all about the different types of knowledge. This is a very important topic for us, especially because we have a lot of debates among, Muslims. What is the good knowledge? What is the ilm al-nafi', the beneficial knowledge, the sacred knowledge, and so on. Also, it tells us a lot about how to seek knowledge. What are the manners? What are the etiquettes of seeking knowledge? Okay. So this particular narration says, it's narrated from Ubay bin Kahf, by the way, from the Prophet ﷺ. He said, قام موسى النبي خطيبا في بني إسرائيل. So Musa, the Prophet, he stood up as a khatib. You know what the khatib is, right? Someone who gives a speech to a large number of people. So he stood up and gave a speech to his people, to Banu Israel, all of the children of Israel, Banu Israel. And that tells us that giving khutbahs is one of the characteristics of the prophets, that they do that. So it's a very honorable position. Though all those who give khutbah, they should be reminded of that they're doing something that the prophets did. So they should respect and honor and value that status, that position, and not take it lightly. So, فَسُئِلَ أَيُّ النَّاسِ أَعْلَمُ. After he gave the speech, or maybe during the speech, he was asked, who is the most knowledgeable of people? Who is the most knowledgeable of people? Sometimes you get those questions, right? So Musa alayhi salam replied, and he said, I am. He said, I am. Of course, when Musa alayhi salam said that, he was not being arrogant or proud. We fully believe that he believed in it, because he was a prophet, he was a messenger of Allah, so obviously he's receiving knowledge that no one else's receive, right? Yet, it says here, فَعَتَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not very, very happy with that response. And there was like a gentle blame to Musa alayhi salam. Ataba is like a gentle blame. Why? It says, إِذْ لَمْ يَرُدَّ الْعِلْمَ إِلَيْهِ. Because he did not refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're supposed to say Allah is the most knowledgeable. But be careful, the question was, who is among the people the most knowledgeable? Who among the people is most knowledgeable? So the response of Musa again was correct. He's not trying to imply that he knows more than Allah, of course. But still, out of adab, out of etiquettes and manners, you should say Allah is the most knowledgeable. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to teach Musa a lesson, of course, all of us. So what he did, فَأَوْحَى اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Musa alayhi salam that there is one servant of mine who happens to be more knowledgeable than you. All right? And this person, this servant of mine, he is at the meeting of the two seas. So that is the location of that person who is more knowledgeable than you, Musa. Okay? So this is why the meeting of the two seas is important, because this is where Musa is going to meet this other person who is more knowledgeable than him. Now again, scholars have debated where that location is. Most likely, because Musa alayhi salam was in Egypt, right? Most likely, that location was, well, you can guess, right? Any idea? What are the seas around that area? Well, Euphrates is in Iraq, right? The Nile, but it's a river. If we think of seas, what are the seas there? The Red Sea, okay, and? What is the other sea in that vicinity, in that location? Yeah, the Mediterranean. So it could be the meeting of the Red Sea, because the Red Sea meets the Mediterranean, right, at, I think, close to Alexandria in Egypt. You can look up the map. I mean, the Red Sea is kind of wide and then thins and goes into two, like horns. They look like horns. And one of them meets the Mediterranean Sea. So it's likely that's there. Other scholars have said maybe it is the Mediterranean meeting the Atlantic. That's way like up in Morocco, that region. That's a little far. Possible, but it's a little far. It is not very, very important to know this, to benefit from the story. Maybe that's why neither the Quran or the Sunnah mentioned exactly the location or told us exactly what two seas it is. One thing also you notice about the ayah, how resilient or how determined Musa alayhi salam was. And this is really an important characteristic. If you want to be successful in life and you have an important goal, you say, I'm gonna go after it, whatever it takes, even if it takes me years. That's exactly what Musa alayhi salam is saying. Like, I'm not gonna stop until I reach my destination, even if it's gonna take me years. I'll keep going, I don't care. That's a really good quality to have, or at least to be close to that. Okay, so I'm gonna continue with the hadith now. He said, because it has more details, Musa wanted to meet this man, so he said, Ya Rabbi, wa kayfa bih, oh my Lord, how do I meet this man? Give me some idea, give me some details. فَقِيلَ لَهُ, he said, what you gonna do? And now here we're assuming that Musa knew or understood where that place is. So let's say he understood that maybe it is the meeting of the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. But still, that's a big large place, right? Like, especially if you don't know the person, how they look like. Like, even if you go to a restaurant, you want to meet the person, unless you have a description or a picture, how are you going to know? I mean, you've never met the person before. So you need more detail to know where that person is and how to find him, how to locate them. This is why he was asking further, because he already got the overall location. Now he needs to know a bit more detail, like how do I exactly pin this person? فَقِيلَ لَهُ, what you're going to do, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give detail of the person himself, which is interesting, because subhanAllah, I mean, in life, and this is a lesson we have to learn, not everything is going to come easy, right? And you have to learn to cope or adjust to the situation. Right? So it's like almost like a puzzle here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to give you the answer right away. This is how life works. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give you the answer, but He gives you enough clues. So these are clues to help Musa alayhi salam find this man. So what he told him, he said, "Ihmil hutan fi miktal." What you're going to do is you're going to carry a fish in a basket. And once you lose it, you will find the man. You lose the fish, you find the man, okay? No pain, no gain. You lose the fish, you find your teacher. فَإِذَا فَقَدْتَهُ فَهُوَ ثَمَّ. Like as soon as you lose it, he's going to be right there. Again, he doesn't tell him how he's going to lose it, right? Like, why would you lose a fish? I mean, you carry your food, right? And it's in a basket. Why would you lose it? But these are the clues given, nothing else. You have to figure it out. All right? Anyway, it says, فَانْطَلَقَ وَانْطَلَقَ بِفَتَاهِ يُوشَعْ بِن نُونٍ. So they started the journey, and with him came Yusha bin Nun, Joshua, the son of Nun, his help, his aid. وَحَمَّلَ حُوتًا فِي مِكْتَلٍ, and they carried the fish in the basket. Okay, now if we go to the next ayah now, ayah 61, it says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَجْمَعَ بَيْنِهِمَا نَسِيَ حُوتَهُمَا. When they reached the meeting of the two seas, however long it took, we don't know how long. It could have been days, weeks, months, we don't know, right? But when they reached that location, they forgot their fish. So again, we don't know how that happened. Like, how do you forget your fish? So now we have to go back to the hadith to tell us the details. We're going to fill the gaps here. And there are multiple narrations, so I'll do you a favor and I'm going to collect a couple of narrations, because each narration will give you details that the other one doesn't have. So I'm not going to tell you all the different narrations where they came from, but I'll give you the final product. So in one narration it says, they kept going until they reached the meeting of the two seas, that location. And in that particular narration it says there was a well. And that well is called the well of life. I will see why. And then they slept there. Okay? So this you don't find in the ayah. The ayah doesn't tell us that they slept in that location. But it is mentioned in the hadith that they slept. Okay, so that gives us a bit more understanding. Why would they lose the fish? Because you should not lose a fish if you're awake, right, and alert. In a different narration it says, until they were at the rock. So there's a rock as well. Until they were at the rock, they put their heads down and slept. وَضَعَا رُؤُوسَهُمَا وَنَامَا. All right? Another narration said, remember this well? So again, this is a miracle, right? We're not saying this is something normal that happens every day, but it is a miracle that took place. It says that from that well was like a spring, and some of the water was sprinkled on the fish. And that's how it came back to life. وَأَصَابَ الْحُوتَ مِنْ رَشَاشِ ذَلِكَ الْمَاءِ. So it says, as soon as it got this water, like the water got on it, it shook, started moving. So life is coming back. وَطَفَرَ مِنَ الْمِكْتَلِ. And it jumped out of the basket onto the sea. Now, in that commotion, Yusha wakes up, not Musa alayhi salam. So that's an important detail. Musa did not notice, he was still asleep. But Yusha noticed, he heard something, he woke up, and he saw the fish jumping in the sea. وَسَقَطَ الْحُوتُ فِي الْبَحْرِ. He saw that the fish was jumping into the sea. And he noticed that the fish was basically plowing through the sea. You know how when a ship plows through the sea and leaves a mark or a line behind it? However, what was weird about this particular line, it says this line stayed, it didn't go away. وَالْمَاءُ لَهُ مِثْلُ الطَّاقِ لَا يَلْتَئِمُ بَعْدَهُ. It didn't like recover. It was still like a line in the sea. And that is the explanation of the verse. If you go back now, ayah 61 in the Quran, it says, فَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ سَرَبًا. It took its route, its path in the sea, and it says saraba. That's the meaning of saraba. Saraba is like when you leave a line behind, and that line stays. Why? Because if you draw a line in the sand or on earth, in the ground, that line stays. So this is like an analogy of when you draw a line in the ground. Okay, so hopefully now ayah 61 is clear a little bit, right? What happened? Now let's go to 62, and again, we're gonna read the ayah and then see how the hadith will add more details. So it says, فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَا, when they passed it, and again you wonder like, okay, they passed it, what happened in between? So let's keep that in mind. When they passed that location, so they left the location, right? Musa tells his aide, "Atina ghada'ana, bring us our lunch. We're hungry. Bring us our lunch. لقد لقينا من سفرنا هذا نصبا." Indeed, this travel of ours, the journey, inflicted, like we are tired, basically, or exhausted because of the journey. Some scholars here said that the journey that Musa is talking about is after they left the rock, after they left that location. So they must have traveled also quite a bit. In fact, in the hadith, it says they traveled for a day and a night after the rock, after they rested, because you travel for a while until you get hungry. So it seems like they traveled quite a distance, all right? And that's when Musa alayhi salam felt hungry. You also might think about this ayah a bit, and it's interesting that Musa alayhi salam was not asking for food without being hungry and being tired. Unlike our, time and day, we eat all the time, whether we're hungry or not hungry. So that's interesting. And this is a little, tip or lesson we learn from here. That we should not, usually you should not eat until you're hungry or unless you're hungry. So now let's look at the narration. It says they kept going for a night and a day. And then when they woke up, so it seems like they slept again, and they got up, then he asked his aide, "Bring the lunch. We are hungry, we are tired, exhausted from the trip." Also in that narration it says, and Musa did not feel a bit of tiredness until they passed that location where the rock was, where the place was. Okay. So if you go to ayah number 63, it says, so look what happened here. Joshua now has to respond, like he has to find the lunch, right? He has to find the fish. And it seems like obviously I don't know if it doesn't say if he looked for it or not, but he looks at Musa and says, "Do you remember the rock where we rested? Like maybe like a day or two ago? Remember that rock? I forgot the fish." So when you think about this, forgot the fish. Again, something is implied here or implicit. He didn't forget the fish, like he didn't just forget the bag or forget the basket. Here what it really means, I forgot to tell you that the fish escaped in the water. So that's also implicit. We only get it from the narration. So that's important. When he said, "I forgot the fish," it means I forgot to tell you that we lost the fish. And he said, وَمَا أَنْسَانِيهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانُ أَنْ أَذْكُرَهُ. And the reason I forgot is shaitan. The only reason I forgot is shaitan. And the fish took its route in the sea. So obviously he knew about the fish and how it escaped. Because he told him, وَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ عَجَبًا. If he just forgot the bag and left, he would not tell him, and the fish, jumped in the sea and took its path in the sea. And he said, ajaba, in an amazing or surprising way, because the fish was dead, right? So that's why it's ajab. Ajab, something that is appalling or something amazing, something you can't explain. That's the word ajab. It has different meanings, slightly different meanings. Okay, does that make sense? Is it all? I hope it does. Okay. Now you think Musa is going to get angry and maybe reprimand the assistant or a servant, whatever you want to call him. Or rather, immediately he said, قال ذلك ما كنا نبغي. This is exactly what we want. Like, I don't care about the food. I didn't come here to eat. I didn't come here to have lunch and picnic and so forth. We came to find the teacher. We came to find this person. And so this is exactly what we're looking for. Because the clue that was given to Musa, if you remember, and maybe the servant did not know that, right? Initially, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, the clue you have is you're going to carry a fish. The purpose of the fish is not necessarily for eating, but as soon as you miss it or as soon as you lose it, this is where you're going to find Khidr, right? So Musa al-Salam was excited, like, finally, okay, we lost the fish. Now we're closer to finding this man, right? So this is why he said, you see in the ayah, immediately he said, this is exactly what we want. In ayah number 64. قَالَ ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِي. This is what we wanted. And this is also an important lesson. Like a lot of times in life we lose something, but we are given something much better. Some people may focus on the loss and they don't see the gain, right? So Musa al-Salam was okay for losing the lunch because he's going to get something much better, much better. Now, they're not there yet, right? So he said, this is exactly what we want. فَارْتَدَّ عَلَى آثَارِهِمَا قَصَصًا. So they traced back their steps to find the rock again. So that's also a chore. It may not have been easy, right? To go back and trace the steps until they find that same location they were at again a day ago. And that's what it means here. فَارْتَدَّ عَلَى آثَارِهِمَا قَصَصًا. So qasasa is like you go step by step till you find your location or your destination. Okay, and then if you go to ayah 65, it says فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا. They found a servant from our servants. And this is like a label of honor. The Quran doesn't tell us his name or his nickname, even Khidr. But it told us his attribute, like he's a servant of ours. And he's special. Why? آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا. We've given him a mercy from us, like a special mercy. وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. And we have taught him from us. So this is, some people might refer to it as عِلْمٍ لَدُنِّي, meaning it's knowledge coming directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that's important for the story later, because you can think of the knowledge that we have, the human knowledge, but then there's divine knowledge. And divine knowledge usually has to do with events in the universe and why they happen. Our knowledge does not go there. You cannot understand why things happen. You can understand what happens, how it happens, if you're lucky. if you're good, you can understand how it happened too. But you may not know why it happened. That is divine knowledge. Like a lot of times we don't understand the wisdom from something. We don't understand the wisdom of a certain event. Why this happened to me, why this happened to someone else. That is divine knowledge. It's not given to us. We don't know it. We don't know. So this is why here it says وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ. So it seems like this is like direct knowledge. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught this man certain knowledge that Musa did not have. In the hadith, so this is ayah 65, right? In the hadith it says فَلَمَّا انْتَهَيَا إِلَى الصَّخْرَةِ. When they ended up at the rock. So they found the exact rock. Okay? And the ayah doesn't say that in detail, but in the hadith it says like they found the rock. Okay, so that's important. And it says, إِذَا رَجُلٌ مُسَجَّى بِثَوْبٍ, and they found a man, you know, sitting down and wearing a nice thobe, right? Musajja is even like covered with a thobe. So maybe he was also covered. So Musa alayhi salam, what he does, he says salam. Sallama Musa. So he says salam to Al-Khidr. Now remember here, from here on, Al-Khidr is not your normal person. He's not going to speak to you like a human being. He might know things behind the scene or behind what we see, or something unseen. And you're going to see that from the beginning. So when Musa says salam, you expect him to say wa alaykum as-salam, to reply, right? Al-Khidr, instead of doing that, he says wa anna bi ardika as-salam. He says, how can you find peace in your land? Like there's no peace here. Who are you kidding? Okay, it's an interesting answer. And then Musa introduced himself. Musa being very, you know, appropriate and courteous and all. He said, I am Musa. And this is good. When you shake someone's hand, you introduce yourself, you say your name. This is from Islam. I mean, the prophets did it, right? So he said, I am Musa. Al-Khidr says, Musa Bani Israel, are you the Musa of Banu Israel? Because there could be other Musa, right? So Musa, he said, yes, I am. I am the Musa of Banu Israel. Like he's known, he's the Musa of Banu Israel because he's the leader, right? He's their leader. Now it seems like Al-Khidr knew about this man, Musa, because he said Musa Banu Israel, so he recognized that there is a Musa who was a leader of Banu Israel. But he wasn't sure that this particular person is Musa because he never met him before. قال نعم. Okay. So let's go back now to next ayah number 66. قال له موسى هل أتبعك. So after he introduced himself, he mentioned his name, and he identified himself well. Now he's going to make the request. This is what I'm here for. So he doesn't waste time. Now he's going to mention why he's here, why he's looking for this man, what's the purpose of his trip, his journey. قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. Ayah number 66. Musa says, can I follow you? Can I follow you? With the condition, ala is like the condition, that you teach me from what you've been taught. You teach me from what you have been taught. And rushda in general, it means guided. That's why we call khulafa al-rashidun. Rashidun, the guided khalifas. You know, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, right? Same here, rushd is like guidance in general. So that's the ultimate goal here, that Musa alayhi salam wants to be guided further. I mean, obviously he is guided already, but guidance does not have a limit. You can always be guided more. This is why we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every rak'ah, in every salat, ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Because we want to be guided more. Guidance does not have a limit. Don't think, mashallah, you're a Muslim, you know it all. No. That you're guided like no one else. No. You always need more guidance. We need guidance in every day. In every decision we make, we need guidance. So, this was the request from Musa to this man. I'd like to follow you, and I want to learn from you. I want to learn from the knowledge that you were given, that I don't have, that I don't have. As we're going to see in the story also, we're going to see some of the etiquettes of how you deal with a teacher. So, one thing is, if you want to benefit from somebody, tell them that you're interested in learning from them and ask for that. I think there is a narration from Ibn Abbas. He said, two people will never be able to attain knowledge. Mustakbir and mustahi. Like someone who's shy and someone who is arrogant. If you're arrogant, you're not going to ask any questions because you think you know it all, right? Maybe you should have added teenager also. No, I'm just kidding. And the other thing, so mutakabbir or mustahi. Mustahi is someone who's shy. So if you're shy, even if you have a question, you're not going to ask it because you're shy. So it's not good. When it comes to knowledge, you should not be shy and you should not be arrogant.
What is the word for shy again?
Mustahin.
Mustahi.
Mustahi, yeah. Or mustahin if you put the tanween. But yeah, haya is the word, haya is the root word. Haya is shyness. And mustahi is someone who is shy. Okay. I think nowadays we're stopping, what, 7:45, right? So I want to remember to keep some time for questions, inshallah. And it's a long story, obviously, so today we're not going to be able to cover all of it, but we're going to, inshallah, cover maybe till the action starts, like the, so that's maybe next time, inshallah, we'll see. But I felt like we need to fill in all the gaps and tell all the details that was important before we dive into, like I say, the action. Okay, so that is a request made by Musa to Khidr. Again, Khidr is not mentioned in the Quran. I believe it is mentioned in some of the narrations. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it is mentioned in one of the narrations at least.
The Khidr is only mentioned in the surah. He is not mentioned anywhere else in the Quran.
Correct. But even in that location in Surat Kahf, his name is not mentioned. He just mentioned Abd. Abdan min ibadina. But in the hadith, it mentions the word Khidr. So yes, it is in this narration in Sahih Bukhari. It says, فَقَالَ الْخَضِرُ. And by the way, the pronunciation is Khidr. I know a lot of people say Khidr. It's a little faster, easier to say Khidr, I guess. But Khidr is the proper pronunciation. So immediately, Al-Khidr says, قَالَ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. So he doesn't say no, like explicitly. It's not an explicit rejection, but he's basically kind of discouraging him. Like, what are you doing? This is not going to work. You're not going to be able to be patient with me. Okay? And that's an interesting characteristic you find in some teachers in general. I find that the good teachers are not easy to accept students. Yes, they want to benefit people, they want to benefit students and whoever wants to learn, but they're not easygoing in that sense. Like, I'm not going to accept anyone. I want to take the serious person. I'm not going to accept the joker, the one who's like coming here just to waste time and play. And that's interesting because if you do that, you end up with the best students. You end up with the students that are serious. Even if you think about it, all the good universities, the Ivy League universities, one of the main reasons they're good is because they have a hard entry exam, or not just the entry exam, the entry process itself. The acceptance process is super hard. So that way, you weed out all the people who are not extremely good and serious at the same time, and like really dying to get in. So, and this is something you find among some Muslim scholars of the past. I mean, maybe I'll tell you one story, and I don't recommend it. I don't recommend teachers to follow it, but it is in our tradition and interesting and funny in a bit. So this man, his name is Al-Amash. He's a scholar of hadith. You find him in narrations in Bukhari and others. I believe he's mentioned in Bukhari. He's a famous scholar of hadith. His name is Al-Amash. Al-Amash is actually a nickname because Amash means someone who can see but little bit. So he's partially blind. I don't know if there's a word for it in English. Partially blind. So he cannot see well. That's al-a'mash. Al-a'ma is someone who's totally blind. A'mash, it's interesting. A'ma, a'mash. It's like in English you say, when you put the ish at the end, it means kind of half or in between, right? Like childish, right? So Al-A'mash was a scholar of hadith, but this man, this scholar had a dog. And this dog, the purpose of this dog is to chase away the students who are not serious. So I mean, so basically to get to the teacher, you have to get through the dog. Like you cannot come and sit next to the teacher unless you have gone through the dog. And you know, use your whatever skills you have to manage your way and sit with the teacher. So there were a set of very dedicated students who did the impossible to come and sit with that teacher every time. And one day they came and they noticed there was no dog. It was too easy to come and sit. And they asked Al-A'mash, what happened to this dog? So he told them, and if you know Arabic, you might laugh or something, but it might not be a big joke. In English, it may not translate as well. So he told them, مات الذي كان يأمر بالمعروف وينهى عن المنكر. So the one who is, you know, commanding what's good and forbidding what's evil, he died. Very funny. I don't see a lot of people. But anyways, the point is, you find this among some teachers, usually good teachers. They're not interested in, so basically they look at knowledge as something very sacred, very like precious. It's like a jewel. And you don't give a jewel to someone who doesn't deserve it. That's how they look at it. So they're not like depriving people from knowledge. Rather, they see the value of knowledge and they see that it's only put in the right place. If that makes sense, right? So that's maybe you could say that's an approach or an opinion that some teachers have. And this is, you see this a bit in Khidr. So basically from the beginning he's saying like, don't waste my time. If you're not patient, I'm not for you. I'm not the one, you know, you want to learn from. So he said, you don't have the patience, you don't have the ability to be patient. And notice he said, إنك لن تستطيع. He didn't say you're not patient. He said you're not gonna you don't have the capability of being patient. As if in this case, being patient is gonna be super hard. So you don't even have the ability to be patient. Okay? So that's a little stronger than saying you're not sabir, you're not patient. You don't even have what it takes to be patient.
So he's not talking about Musa, he's talking about himself, correct? Because
why do you say that?
In this scenario, you're not going to have enough patience with me. So Khidr's already establishing this standard that he knows no one's going to be able to meet that. And so he's prejudging Musa based on, but he's saying no one's going to have patience with me, everyone's going to comment, you're no different. But he's just saying that this is his standard and he's just established. So
Yes, in a way it is true. It has to do with both. It has to do with Al-Khidr and Musa. And the reason is, Al-Khidr is coming from the perspective that I am given some divine knowledge that he knows that Musa doesn't have. Right? So from that perspective, yes, he's at some level, you could say standard or some level, that he knows Musa is not at. He knows that Musa is not at, because he knows he has some divine knowledge that if you looked at it, it may not make sense to you, right? Because there's some hidden stuff. Like there's some prerequisite knowledge you need to have to understand why these things are happening, right? So yes, in that respect, yes.
But if you go to the next ayah, it doesn't seem to me that Khidr's talking about himself at all, because he's saying, because if you go to the next ayah, which says, "For how could you have patience in situations where your knowledge is incomplete?" Okay.
Correct.
So
Okay.
Strictly, in my view, he's strictly talking to Moses, saying, "You're not going to have the patience to learn from me because I know stuff you don't know, and then you're going to start questioning me, and you're going to get upset, frustrated."
I mean, both are correct. Because he has that knowledge that Musa doesn't have, it sets him apart from Musa, and this is why Musa is going to be impatient.
Right.
So they're not necessarily like far apart, what you guys are saying. Inshallah, when we go through it, also it'll be more apparent. But yeah, very good. So if you go to ayah 68, it explains it better. Basically here, Al-Khidr is justifying why Musa will not be capable of patience. This is interesting. So he's not saying that Musa is not patient. Of course, Musa is being a prophet, especially with Banu Israel, he needed a lot of patience, right? He's not saying that Musa is not patient. He's saying that because of some lack of knowledge, you don't have that capability. So he said, and how can you be patient when you're not given certain knowledge? So ما لم تحط به خبرة. So let's pay attention here and be careful the use of the word. ما لم تحط. تحط from إحاطة, which is to encompass. So our knowledge usually is partial, right? Anything we know about, it's not like we know it from all angles. Ihata is when you encompass something with knowledge. So you know it from every possible perspective, every possible angle, every possible direction, you know it. All right? That's full comprehensive knowledge. He's saying you don't have that. ما لم تحط به خبرة. So even if Musa alayhi salam knew something, he did not know it from all angles. He does not have this encompassing knowledge. ما لم تحط به خبرة. This is why one of the names of Allah is Al-Muhit, the one who encompasses. Also in Arabic, separate from this topic, ocean in Arabic is Muhit. Because you look at oceans, that water engulfs the earth. Versus a sea. A sea is limited, right? Usually a sea is engulfed by land. Oceans are the opposite. Oceans are so wide and big, they engulf the earth. Because the majority of earth is water. And it's due to those big oceans. So that's why in Arabic, ocean is muhit. But the word ihata is to encompass, to engulf, to comprehend. Okay. Now, this is not to belittle or to denigrate Musa alayhi salam. Some people may, and there was actually a debate among scholars. Like, how can somebody, a human being, know more than Musa? If Musa is a prophet, prophets are the best of people, how can there be somebody else who knows more than Musa alayhi salam? And there's a long debate. You read in some books, explaining the verses or like Tafsir or Hadith. A long debate. But I think the next statement by Al-Khidr, which is not in the Quran, it's in the Hadith, explains it really well and settles this debate. By the way, some scholars have opined that Al-Khidr is a prophet too. But he's not a well-known prophet, but he's a prophet. That is also a very good possibility. But look what he said here. He said, Ya Musa, inni ala ilmin min ilmi Allahi allamanihi la ta'lamuhu ant. He said, O Musa, and here he's being now approachable, accessible, nice. He said, O Musa, I have some knowledge from the knowledge of Allah that He taught me that you do not know. وَأَنْتَ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عَلَّمَكَهُ لَا أَعْلَمُهُ. Likewise, you are upon a knowledge that Allah taught you that I do not know. So now they're equal. Even Stephen, right? So here it shows that Al-Khidr is not better than Musa and not, the other way around. All it means here is that Al-Khidr has some knowledge that Musa doesn't have, and Musa has some knowledge that Al-Khidr doesn't have. That's totally fine. And this is a very important point, by the way. For example, a lot of people like to get into this game of who's better than who, right? And this happened in front of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Now we know that Prophet Muhammad is the best prophet, but the Prophet Muhammad wanted to teach the companions a lesson. Like, this is not something you should be involved in, engaged in, like who's better. Even if you know deep down that Prophet Muhammad is the best creature, it's not appropriate to start saying Muhammad is better than this prophet and that prophet. So one time, he said, لا تفضلوني على يونس ibn Matta. Don't say I'm better than Yunus. Like, why Yunus in particular? Jonah, any idea? Right, so there's some implication that maybe he did not follow the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely, right? Like he got, of course he called his people to Islam, but then he got maybe turned off or a little tired and he left them. So some people might have this idea that he may not be the best or he not. So he chose Yunus in particular to say, do not say that I'm better than Yunus. Okay? لا تفضلوني على يونس ibn Matta. Right? So don't play this game. Likewise, I mean, when we talk about the companions, you say this companion is better than, it's not, don't do that. Like we know deep down, okay, we know the, the order, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali. But if you look at the attributes or the characteristics of the companions, you cannot compare. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Each companion had something that the other companion did not have. So now, okay, you go grab a hadith about Ali radiallahu anhu that says, on the day of Khaybar, the Prophet told him, أنت مني بمنزلة هارون لموسى إلا أنه لا نبي بعدي. So you take this hadith, it says, you are, Prophet Muhammad speaking to Ali radiallahu anhu, and he told him, you are to me like Harun is to Musa, except there's no prophet after me. Because Harun was a prophet too, so don't get this idea in your head. Just because the Prophet said that you are to me like Harun is to Musa, except Ali is not a prophet, like Harun was a prophet. So, but still you say, oh, he's so close to the Prophet ﷺ if he's like a brother, because Harun was the brother of Musa. But then you look at other like virtues of Abu Bakr and Umar, it's also very, very good. So you cannot just grab one hadith or one virtue and say, see, that shows that this particular companion is better than everybody else. You should not play this game, because again, each one of them excelled in something. They were not equal in that sense. I mean, everybody is humans; they're all different. So everyone excelled in something. So it doesn't have any value. It's like futile. I'm looking for that word. Futile, game to be involved in comparing this and that. To be comparing a companion to another, a prophet to another, and so on. And likewise, when it comes to Khidr and Musa, it's a futile, endeavor, right? To be comparing, oh, it seems like Khidr is better here because he got this knowledge, this divine knowledge, ladunni, right? So he's a higher level than the Prophet. By the way, I'm not making this up. Some people say that, so that's why I have to mention it. And Khidr himself made it so clear. There's no comparison here because the knowledge you have, I don't have. The knowledge I have, you don't have. So there's no purpose, there's no benefit from comparing this person to that person.
So, earlier when Moses said that he was the most knowledgeable, Allah corrected him and said, but there's someone more knowledgeable. Would it be more, I guess, would it be a better translation to say there's somebody of different knowledge? You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to say more knowledgeable, maybe just you have different.
Sure, yeah, that's a good point. But remember also, because in that particular place, this is a place of a bit of, like we said, some reprimand is happening. So even if he said more knowledgeable, it's just to remind him. Not that he has more knowledge in everything, but there is someone who has more knowledge than you in a particular manner. I mean, this is implicit, it's implied, it's not explicit. But because it is in a position of, remember we said gentle blame, right? So there's that reproach, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remind him that, to be humble and so on. Okay. So now, ayah 69, Musa alayhi salam replies, and he says, قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا وَلَا أَعْصِي لَكَ أَمْرًا. Musa is so eager to learn and to open this gate of knowledge that he doesn't know. He's so, and this is really the quality of a good student. Even if you know a lot and you discover there's maybe a door of knowledge or a particular branch of knowledge or science that you don't know, you're so eager, you're so thirsty to learn that. That is a characteristic of a real student or seeker of knowledge. So nothing is going to stop Musa alayhi salam, really, however much you try. So in ayah 69 he said, you're going to find me, insha'Allah, he said also. You're going to find me patient, and I will not disobey a single amr, a single command or a single order. I will not disobey. All right? And that's important for a student. And we have to be you have to have a balance. We're not saying that in general that a student should be in total blind obedience to the teacher. It's okay for the student to ask questions, to question the teacher. That's fine. But it should not get to a point where you disrespect the teacher. We see those two things, two extremes. We see this example of the student who's totally absent in the presence of the teacher, as if they don't have a personality. They imitate the teacher in everything they do, even the way they walk, the way they eat. And they don't say ever, they don't even question anything about the teacher, as if it's like revelation. That's one extreme. And the other extreme is no adab, no manners, no etiquette, a lot of disrespect. The good student is right in between. You should respect the student, you should respect the teacher rather. You should always remember, the knowledge that he taught you. So even later, let's say later you exceed in knowledge, mashallah, you become somebody, knowledgeable. You should never forget your teacher, even if you exceed him in knowledge. It's possible many times that if you are serious and you're, you try hard, you become more knowledgeable than your teacher. But you should never forget, because the teacher gave you something. And you always should be thankful to people. The people who give you something. Allah, the Prophet told us in hadith, "Man la yashkur an-nas, la yashkur Allah." If you're not able to be thankful to people, you're not going to be able to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So people might do you small favors, but you're not able to thank them, or you don't thank them, you're not going to be able to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the major bounties. Okay, so trying to remember, there's a nice poem. Yeah, so Imam Shafi'i used to say, Al-Hurru man ra'a wudda lahza wantama liman afadahu lafza. It's a little hard, that's why it took me a while. So there is actually a really nice statement by Imam Shafi'i. We know he's a great Imam, one of the major scholars of Islam. And he said the free man, by the way, this word free man, it used to be used in the past. It's not like a recent invention that some people think, So he said, Al-Hur, the free man, the really free man, is the one who remembers man ra'a wudda lahza. Even if he had a good time with a person, like a friend, even it was a moment, you don't forget it. Because a lot of times what happens, you have friends and you had really good time with them and everything, and you've had a friendship for years, and then something happens and you forget everything, and you become enemies. He said this is not appropriate for a real man, a free man. If you're small, yes, but if you're a free man, you don't forget these good days. Even if there are issues and problems, you don't forget the good time. And the second thing he said, وَانْتَمَا إِلَى مَنْ أَفَادَهُ لَفْظًا. Somebody who benefited you by one statement, he said, or one utterance, one word, he said, you don't forget that either. Because what happens, especially nowadays, people, you see, they study with shuyukh, with teachers for a long time. And then they kind of rebel against them, or not rebel, maybe I don't know if that's the right word. Like, let's say you change your opinion and you follow a different sheikh, you still should not, you should never attack the first sheikh. You don't have to follow him, but do not attack him because he benefited you. He gave you some benefit. He taught you something. So anyone who taught us anything, we should always keep that loyalty. He said, intama is like sort of loyalty. And intima, yes.
Since we live in the West,
Teachers
teachers are not believers.
are not
They're not
believers. Oh, okay. So he was saying it in the context of a religious teacher. But if you're talking about like someone who taught you secular knowledge, you keep that. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you still honor that in a way, like you still respect it, you honor it, you acknowledge it. I mean, I don't see the issue.
I mean, you said don't rebel against them.
So I don't know if rebel was he said wantama. Intama is to be in the same camp or to follow or to show loyalty. I think loyalty may be the best translation. Intama. So meaning you never, let's put it bluntly, it happens a lot. So let's say you study with a teacher or a sheikh in this case, and then let's say you change your opinion, you start attacking that sheikh. So at the least, you should not be attacking that sheikh, even if now you differ with them. And that should apply to a secular teacher. If they benefited you, you should not be attacking them later because you should remember the benefit they gave you. That's the reason. Okay.
Can I ask you? For the verse number 69 that you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
so I see here this, it says, Kala Sajiduni, Inshallah, and then Sabra. So after that it comes Wala. So finally it be Wala because it's referring to the future. So that's what bothers me because from the grammatical point, I don't know if that is.
What should it be? Instead of wala, what is it? Walan a'si laka amra? No, I mean, walan is only the future. Lan a'si, like I will never, like in the future, disobey. La a'si is like, this is who I am now. I do not, if I say, for example, to you, I do not disobey you, does not imply the future as well? It means now and the future. So it's even stronger. Like, I'm not like that, right? This is who I am. I will never disobey you. So it is stronger. Wala asi.
Thank you.
Okay, last verse, inshallah, number 70. قال فإن اتبعتني. That's the condition now from Al-Khidr. قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرى. He said, okay, fine. You want to follow me, fine. But my condition is you cannot ask me about a thing, he said. عن شيء. You cannot ask me about a thing until I start mentioning why. Because events will happen. Of course, Musa is so, curious. He's going to ask, why did you do this? Why did you? So he said, don't start the questions until I tell you, until I start that kind of conversation. So that is the condition from Al-Khidr to Musa alayhi salam. We're going to see if Musa is going to be able to fulfill that condition. And again, one thing in mind, please, this does not belittle Musa alayhi salam in any way. In fact, we're going to prove next time that Musa was doing the best he could do with the knowledge he was given. Because that is the thing is. The thing is, you do your best with the knowledge you're given. Like, he should not have done it otherwise, I would argue, next time, inshallah. Like, everything he did, every objection he made, he should have made that objection based on the knowledge. He should not have kept silent, actually. Okay? So that's what we're going to do, inshallah, next time. So please don't misunderstand that, okay, because Musa was not able to fulfill the condition or follow this condition or this promise, it does not diminish Musa alayhi salam. Because Musa also has an obligation. Musa is a prophet, and he's going by the law, the Mosaic law, if you like, or the law of Musa, right? So he has to obey, he has to follow the law, he has to uphold the law. And that's why he was objecting to Al-Khidr. So it's a nice conflict we're going to see, inshallah, next time. Each one springing from a different paradigm, right? We have the paradigm of Al-Khidr, who has this knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, divine knowledge, who might understand what's behind the event, not just the appearance of the event, but then you also have the perspective, you have the paradigm of Musa, السلام, who goes by what is apparent. In any law, this is what we go by. We don't go into intentions, we go into what happened, what we saw happen. So that's also important, that's also valuable. So he's going by the law, right? So we're gonna see this interplay, inshallah, next time. And let me stop here. We have maybe 5 minutes until Adhan, right? 5 minutes or so? Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be correct to say that they have like the same aqidah but different sharia?
Well, certainly they have the same aqidah, right? I mean, both are, according to one opinion, both are prophets. Even if Al-Khidr was not a prophet, no doubt he was a salih, right? He was a righteous person, no doubt. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, Abdan min ibadin, he was one servant of us, like he is a servant of us, right? So on aqidah, no doubt, they are, or they have the same aqidah. As far as shara, yes, some people might have said that they have a different sharia, like a different law. Here, probably, and maybe we can expand on this next time, I would still say that it is Musa who had the law. Al-Khidr was not really having, so by the way, what you're going to see done by Al-Khidr are exceptions, they're not the rule. Like Al-Khidr was not going to go around and do that the rest of his life. He was just teaching Musa a lesson. So he was not upholding a particular law. He was just showing him what's behind events. Like, I will do something that is puzzling for you, Musa, but then I'll show you later why I did it based on some knowledge that no one else has. Okay, granted, if we have that knowledge, then it's okay to have a new sharia based on that new knowledge. But because we don't have that divine knowledge, we are to abide by the sharia we have, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't hold you accountable for something you don't know. If I knew the ultimate purpose or the ultimate, like not just the event, but what's behind the event or the ultimate purpose of that event, I might act differently. And that's what we're going to see Khidr do. But because we're limited, we don't have that knowledge. That knowledge is hidden from us. We cannot act according to it. So I would not call it Sharia because it was only like few incidents and that's it. Al-Khidr was not going around and doing this all his life, to our knowledge. Yeah. Wallahu a'lam. Yes.
In the hadith, in the beginning, so you said something like he should have referred the knowledge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was related to, if I remember hadith correctly, was who's the most knowledgeable among men, or like human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So we should have referred the answer to that question, or like, okay, I don't know, like Allah knows who's the most knowledgeable, or refer to Allah as the most knowledgeable. Which one do you mean?
It seems that it was okay to say I am, but not stop there. You could say I am the most knowledgeable of people, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most knowledgeable. Just like, for example, when you go ask a scholar to give a fatwa, you notice at the end they always say Wallahu a'lam, and Allah knows best. He already answered and he gave the best knowledge he has. It's always good to refer back to Allah, that He is the most knowledgeable. Because in that you're saying that my knowledge is always incomplete. It has shortcomings. So people don't misunderstand like, oh, your word is final. They should not get that from the answer. The answer should be clear that no matter what I tell you, no matter what answer I give you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ultimate knowledge, has the comprehensive knowledge. So my answer by default, by definition, is incomplete. No matter how nice, how great it looks, it has this human element. It cannot be full and complete.
Relating to the garden story, where it was mentioned mentioned that you should say inshallah, or you didn't say inshallah, something like that. And you know what happened later on. We know like the gardens were destroyed and everything. Over here, he said inshallah, be patient, but he wasn't. He had to be patient.
Okay.
This thing that the same surah that inshallah came twice.
So it's not the same. In the story of the garden, it's not inshallah, it's that mashallah. There's a big difference, yes. Mashallah you say when you have lots of, wealth. You say mashallah to protect it, right, from the evil eye and so on. And also to acknowledge that it is from Allah, right? Inshallah is different. Inshallah is when you're going to do something and you don't do it. And you acknowledge that you cannot do it without the help of Allah. So when he said inshallah, he's basically doing the right thing, because he's saying essentially, I'm not sure of myself. If Allah allows me, I'll be patient, but I cannot rely on myself. So in fact, he is telling you he may not be. He's leaving a little wiggle room that I may not be patient. Yes.
Isn't it like a propensity for Musa to always ask questions, like seek knowledge, and also ask questions when he's given an order? It looks like that's not the first time that's happening.
Can you think of another example?
When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy ila Fir'aun innahu tagha, you say, ana akhafu an tukadibun, something like that.
إني أخاف أن يكذبون. Okay.
Like a liar. And then he said, he's always questioning, it looks like, every time he's given an order. And he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make his brother a prophet because he has a stutter, he cannot speak. And also when he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah showed him the mountain. He told him if it's there, you will see me, and then he passed.
Yes.
It looks like, if you look at the Musa always asking, he's always questioning, it looks like this.
Okay. I might put it slightly differently. No doubt, Musa alayhi salam has such a strong personality. You can tell if you study the story and the life of Musa alayhi salam, he had a very, very strong personality. And he was, some even mention he would get a bit angry, but for good reasons. Like when he took the tablets back and he found that his people are worshipping the Kahf, he left them only for a few, like 40 days, and came back. So he threw the tablets out of anger, because he could not. But this is the kind of, you want a leader who cares, right? You want a leader with a lot of charisma. And yes, he was a bit inquisitive. That's fine. He's not really objecting to Allah's order or decree, but there's nothing wrong of asking clarifying questions, mind you, right? Because in one case, he had a legitimate reason. He said, I want my message to be successful, so if they don't accept me or they don't believe me, I want someone else, like wazir, like a minister, or someone who is at my side, who can reinforce my statements, who is more eloquent. So he's one, he's not, see, sometimes people object just to be difficult. Musa wanted the message to be successful, wanted the mission to be successful. So he was ensuring that he asked for everything he needs. Just like, and this is important, by the way, it's a good quality. Like, say if your boss gave you a task, and sometimes you have a few things in your mind, your heart, but maybe you're shy. You don't ask for everything you need to make the project successful. And then later, you regret it and say, I should have asked from the beginning, because now I wasted this time and I knew I needed that kind of help from him. And these are conditions for me to be successful, but I did not ask. So it is it's a good quality of a leader. You make sure you ask for everything you need in the beginning to assure the success of your mission. So if you could go and study those different incidents, you're gonna see that every time Musa had a very good reason of maybe asking further or requesting something, extra, or. But that's a good observation, I think. It's
easiest to add to what you just said. It's not, I'm not saying it's a quality. It's a quality of Musa. You always want to know, and it's what has his eagerness. You always want to have answers. It's very consistent.
Yes, which is, yeah, very good, yes. It's a good quality to want to learn more, especially when that knowledge is beneficial. Sometimes you have these people who just want to ask for the sake of asking. That's different, right? But yeah, he asked the right questions and he's not shy about it. Remember, we said it earlier, two things will stop you from seeking knowledge: being shy and being arrogant. Musa was not shy. We can establish that clearly. Anything else over there?
So can we take a lesson, I guess, from this story that we can seek knowledge? This prophet Musa was like seeking knowledge from another person who's a prophet. So we can seek knowledge from like not anybody, but like even if we are like Hafiz, we can like seek knowledge from somebody else, or like if we have a we can still seek knowledge. So we shouldn't just because somebody's younger.
Very good point. In fact, one of the early scholars, he used to say, you'll never attain knowledge until you seek it from three. From the one above you, meaning the one more knowledgeable, the one equal to you, because sometimes there's some envy, some like, some competition, right? So you may not seek it from someone who is at the same level. And you seek it from the one below you. So you're not going to be a true scholar. You're not going to be a real knowledgeable person, a true person of knowledge, until you seek knowledge from three: the one above you, the one equal to you, and the one below you. Because guess what? Sometimes you learn something from the one below you. Like, they may not know as much as you, they might be younger than you, they may not have the same amount of knowledge, but they may not know they may know something you do not know. They might teach you something. I mean, sometimes I learn a lot from kids. I mean, just by watching them and they're asking you questions, you learn a lot. So until you're able and you convince yourself and you step on your ego and learn from all those people, the one above you, the teacher, the one who has more knowledge, the one equal to you, maybe in the same class or something, and the one below you, that could be anybody, including children, you're not going to be truly knowledgeable. Okay, I think we can stop here. Okay, Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.